As South Africa waits for more news about its former President Nelson Mandela, his party, the ANC, the party of government, is deciding who should lead the country in the future. The current president, Jacob Zuma, is trying to persuade the party to give him a second term. But as our correspondent Martin Geisler reports, ANC supporters don't think much of what he's achieved so far.
South Africa's ruling party is meeting to chart its future, but its leader opened the Congress with a tribute to the greatest figure of its past, now old and frail, in a hospital bed.
We wish him and the family were all the best during this time.
Jacob Zuma's leadership is under threat. He's a crowd pleaser, but he's no Nelson Mandela, and most South Africans are not impressed. Across Soweto's famous cooling towers, the ANC's message is writ large, but in their shadow we found the struggle that is daily life for many people here. The party never promised them riches, but they did say a better life lay ahead. That was 18 years ago. What do you think of Jacob Zuma? He's a good man? Is he doing enough for you? He's never been here, she says. He doesn't know how we live. Nelson Mandela first came to Johannesburg 70 years ago. He was appalled by the squalor he lived in then. For some, and not just a few, very little has changed. Lewis is a plumber by trade. He came here in search of work in 1998. He's never found a full-time job and fears he never will. He's also worried for the next generation.
I hope, but our government is giving us a problem. But I hope, and I wish that they must be well educated.
But depressingly, recent studies show the country's schools are failing too. There has been real progress here in South Africa. Places like this are slowly being knocked down and replaced by new homes. But there are massive problems too, not least a rampant unemployment rate. Ask most people here and they'll tell you that after 18 years, that progress isn't coming nearly fast enough. There is now a burgeoning black middle class here. The crowded shops in Soweto's glitzy new mall are proof of that. But the new generation of voters don't remember the struggle, and the ANC will have to trade on more than just its history if it's to hold on to power in the years to come. Martin Geisler, ITV News, Soweto.
Let's get the thoughts now of our Africa correspondent Rohit Castro. And Rohit, I suppose the question is President Zuma the right man, or should I say still the right man, to run the country?
Well, he has to convince the delegates of that, not the country, but his party. And although it seems likely that he will, he'll no doubt be scarred by the fact that his own deputy is running against him. Clearly, he doesn't think he's the right man for the job. So will Zuma, in a second term, turn around corruption? Well, if he has the will, that's possible. But will he turn the economic tide? Well, the gap between rich and poor, black and white, well, that seems pretty difficult, perhaps almost impossible.
And Nelson Mandela's health still a big concern. Will that affect the leadership race in any way, do you think?
Well, a 10th day recovering in hospital for Nelson Mandela, and frequent mentions of him today, always to remind black voters of what they owe the ANC for its role leading the liberation struggle. But many people here are tiring of that argument. They're trapped in their thoughts between presidencies of the past and the future, wondering how in a decade this turned from the country of Nelson Mandela, the hope, the optimism, the unity, to the country of President Zuma, the extravagant motorcades and presidential mansions, and people wondering when will their patience with the ANC run out.
All right, Rohit, thank you very much indeed.
A couple originally accused of murdering their 6 children in a house fire have pleaded not guilty to a revised charge of manslaughter.